What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Brave and Faithful. I'm your host, Raiden Denicio, and today I have the founder and owner of GORUCK. He is the Army Special Forces veteran, Jason McCarthy. What's going on, Jason?
Things are good, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, doing well. Just got off work, so getting ready for this interview, and here we are.
Yeah,
um,
just that easy.
yeah. So, before we start talking about, GORUCK, just want to talk a little bit about your service. I mentioned you're in the Army Special Forces. Can you just talk a little bit about your time in the Army and, basically what you did?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really have some big vision growing up that I was going to join the Army. It just kind of wasn't really a thing. I'm 42 now, so I graduated from college, in May of 2001, and then the towers fell, and that was kind of a call to arms for me. So went through the whole kind of cycle of, man, I really want to make a difference and do something that matters. And I want to be on the front lines and I want to do all that. And thinking it and doing it, signing on that dotted line are two different things. And, the Army was just kind of a series of learning how to conquer this fear and that fear, and then the
Yeah.
next one, and then the next one. And, I'm just really grateful to the people and the mentors that I had along the way. And so, like everybody else, started in basic training. I look back now, I look like a kid that, you know, it's like way too young and under whatever. And then it's airborne school and the special forces qualification course. And that took a little over 2 years, right? So that was basically done at Fort Bragg.
Fort Bragg, yeah.
And then, I went to my team in 2006 in Fort Carson, Colorado, where I went to A210, 10th Special Forces Group out there. And then we deployed pretty quickly to southern Iraq. It was kind of there was a big transition, that was kind of the height of the surge. And so it's in pretty grim shape. And that's it's kind of was the baptism by fire for me.
So, you mentioned earlier the Army kind of helped you conquer some fears. What were some of those initial fears that you had going into the
I
military?
mean, jumping out of airplanes is not a normal thing. you know, it's not, it's like, but I mean, that one's actually easy by comparison. I mean, I think everybody is ultimately scared to die at some point or another. I mean, this idea that, even if you attain a degree of wisdom where that just is not in your, like, if the pucker factor does not exist for you, then I think you're more of a cyborg than a human. And so you just learn to trust your training and the guy next to you, and all these things, they're true, right? I mean, you train to invincibility, and that's a really great feeling to experience. If you have never felt that before, I mean, it's it's great. You see what you're capable of, you see what you're capable of on a team, and you get to take that with you for the rest of your days, however many days that you have left. So the ultimate fear was kind of overcoming that fear of death, and then saddling up anyway and doing what needed done.
Yeah, the term or whatever phrase that comes up to mind is Memento Mori. I don't know if you're familiar with that, right? Like, remember that we
Yeah.
must all die, right? Like, so, overcoming these fears, initially they're fears, right? But once you overcome them, you're kind of like look back and like, oh crap, like I went through some shit and I survived.
Yeah, it makes you who you are. And not everybody survives everything either. And you have to have some skin in the game. And
Right.
I got some skinned up knees. I got some memories I'd rather not have. I got, and I got, it's like I've tasted my own blood more than a couple times in training, no less too, right? And it's kind of like that's that's a better choice to make than to just kind of hang in the shadows. That's just not who we are as a nation and as a people. And I think that the military continues to sort of lead from the moral front on that end, like reminds us who we are when we're at our best.
Yeah. So, Jason, how long did you serve for, and what kind of led you to the decision of, leaving the military?
So I did 5 years total, right? So 03 to 08. And I was married, and my wife was she was a case officer for the agency. So she was posted abroad at the same time as I was, posted in Fort Carson, Colorado, and I'm going to Iraq and then other places. And then she's, posted over there. It was impossible to lead a healthy marriage doing that. I mean, you just can't do it. They say you grow apart, like we were apart. And so I got out, and my plan, or our plan, was I was going to move in with her for about a year, because she had her tour, or her posting, they call it, over there was 3 years. And so I was going to spend a year over there and then come back and probably go join the ground branches at the agency, or something along those lines, if they would have had me.
Right.
And because once you're in the system, you're kind of in the system. So that would have been kind of easier to manage, or it would have been manageable, right? And it's just, two completely different organizations that the bureaucracy doesn't care, man. Oh, you're married? Awesome. Don't care.
Don't care.
Right. And then, and our lives had just kind of drifted apart at that time. So I ended up getting a divorce as I'm getting out, and, it was messy. The transition was hard. And so later on, the happy ending is we ended up getting back together and have a bunch of kids running around now. And, she's sitting right over there right now working on the GORUCK community, and she manages all that amongst a ton of other stuff. But, GORUCK started because I built her a go bag at her house in Abidjan, Cote d'Ivoire, West Africa. And I was just kind of trusting my training, the way of life that I had. I wasn't overthinking it. It was just, I went there, and, they love a good coup in Africa, right? And
Yeah.
it's one of those things where, it was not the same as, hey, I got my gun trucks and my team and we're in Iraq and we know we're at war. It was just kind of more false sense of security can happen a lot there. And so I just wanted her to be as prepared as possible. So built to go back for the house, put one in her car, it's just extra stuff. And
Just for like
that she might needing. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't even weapons. She was, we weren't authorized to carry weapons there, which is kind of, I understand there's reasons for it. I didn't really agree with those, but right. they weren't asking. And so, yeah, it was just, a pair of running shoes and, batteries and solar powered stuff and, crank hand radios and, water and, ORS, oral rehydration salts, and just stuff like that in case you get removed, that you're able to kind of, get off the X and get to a new kind of safe house or whatever it might be.
So initially it was just more of like, you made these initially for your wife, more so of like, hey, just in case something happens, right? In war-torn West Africa, in all places. Where did the idea of like maybe turning this into some sort of business come about?
Yeah, it was kind of just a long, drawn out bad idea that I kept kind of, executing against slowly. And I was just looking for something to do at that point, a hobby. And so, I was crashing on my buddy's couch in New York City, and I'd been in Baghdad and had this kind of idea that the Ruck would be this convergence of the two, Baghdad, New York City. And so, because military has the best stuff, it's tough, but it looks super military, right? The guy, he's walking through the airport, and that Ruck has 45 straps hanging all over it, and there's just like compartments and pockets. I mean, like you could lose a small country in most of those military Rucks. And it's just sort of, they're not elegant, they're not beautiful, they're not sleek. And from a functional standpoint, there's just more to go wrong. And so wanted to really simplify it. And, I jumped on the grenade of trying to find, manufacturing places in R&D. And that took over 2 years to get to a point where I had anything to sell. And then it was another dose of reality, because, building a business is not the same as building a one piece of gear. You have to actually sell it and market it. And that was something that for a long time I was very unwilling to do. My heart really wasn't in it. I didn't want to go from being a special forces guy to being a salesman. And I'm still, there's certain things I just refuse to do. We could probably whore out stuff a lot more. It's like, lots of people do that. You see it, and it's just kind of, it's not befitting of the regiment that I came from. So, we build the best. It's one of those things where we design it from the ground up. We build it, we prove it. Green Berets are judge and jury of quality, stuff like that. And so, we're really proud of the stuff that we turn out, and that's a rewarding way to build a business.
Jason, what was like the point during coming up with this business? What was the point where you kind of like realize, oh, this could be something, this could be like a business, we could turn this into a business? Because like when you talk about rucking, right, like not too many civilians know about rucking, and the idea of just putting 20-pound whatever weight backpack and then just going for basically like just walking, right? Like where did that, like, how did you get this, the people, how did you let the people buy into it, I guess?
Well, it was kind of a long, windy road. It actually started with much more extreme kind of rucking as the foundation. These events that I started running because nobody wanted to buy the gear. So I'm like, damn, I have to do something. Okay. So I came up with the GORUCK challenge. I got people to show up and, stuff the rucksacks full of bricks. And then it was like, welcome to the pain train, man. And it was like, hey, a day in the life of wear my boots for a day. But it wasn't drill sergeant stuff. It wasn't yelling and screaming or anything. It was just more like, hey, this is going to be really hard. Pick them up, carry that, put the log over your head, do this, do that, right? Keep people engaged, which is what, concentrated portions of our training always were. And so brought in people of all, like, I don't give a shit if you're black, white, male, female, gay, straight, Democrat, Republican. It's like, pick that log up. Everybody get under the log. And America needs that. America will always need that, by the way. The melting pots, you gotta sweat under the log if you want to melt, right? So we did a bunch of that, and at the end of the first one of those, that was September 26th, 2010. It's like, all right, I believe in this, because it was total bunch of strangers, different backgrounds, and it just sort of worked. It clicked. We were in this parking lot by the ocean in San Francisco where we finished up, and I was like, we're just sitting there drinking beers and, eating some peanut butter and jelly sandwiches or whatever. And it was just like awesome. It's like that vibe that you want to just live in forever. And so we really just expanded the GORUCK brand by doing a lot more of that.
Of the GORUCK challenges. And how long did these challenges kind of like run for?
Well, I mean, that one was say 7 or 8 hours, and they've expanded hugely. I mean, we have 24-hour versions, we have 12-hour versions, we have 5-hour versions, stuff like that. And it's, it was just a way, the hardest thing to do, I think, in any startup or business, no matter, say you're a really good anything, craftsman, you're a really good, like, you're the world's greatest sword maker, right? Hattori Hanzo's got nothing on you. And how do you tell people that, though? How do you get the word out? How do you get your name out? Because the world is a busy place, man, and nobody cares about your problems except, your dog or your mom or something. And so with this, it was just, it was some pipe hitter, Fight Club style team building. And, people just told people about GORUCK, and that, we'd already built the gear. So the gear was, again, it's not some big design. I did what I knew, and I knew rucking. And so the rucksacks that we designed, I mean, I'm testing them against what I think a rucksack should feel like with a
Yeah.
certain amount of weight. I wasn't testing them at, combat loads with, all sorts, like 125 pounds. That wasn't really the goal. I wanted a rucksack that I could ruck in a city with. And, I wasn't even really thinking of training early on. It was more just rucking is a way of moving. And it's a way to get stronger, and it's a way to go explore a city and have fun and get a little more out of it. And, it's just, it's weird to kind of connect the dots in history when it wasn't some grand plan like that, right? And then just over time, what happened is that we started to see people using rucking to come together, and that motivates me hugely, right? When I and we can stand for something that's building better Americans. I mean, that's what Special Forces is all about too. You go in, you move in, you train the trainers, you go fight by, with, and through them, and they achieve your mission success. It's not just unilateral strike missions. So I was very comfortable in this kind of asymmetrical, to throw out more buzzwords, asymmetrical environment where we have all these people coming from all different backgrounds, and let them get out there and tell their friends that they should do this. And so that was the real goal in all of this, was to get them to do it. Because I didn't, Facebook ads and Google ads, I mean, terrible. It's just miserable. You can never win that war. The only people that win that war are Facebook and Google, right? I mean, if you build a great product, people will tell, and then you can build around that. But as more people started to use it for fitness and exercise, it was kind of less just about the marketing side of, hey, get the name out there, and became more like, well, people want to know how to ruck and ruck better so they get stronger, so their heart gets healthier, so that, they can maybe substitute walking for rucking, or they can, alternate running with rucking if they want to run as well. And so it just like, we understand rucking really well. Green Berets, like that's what we're trained against. Like that's the standard when you roll out to SFAS, Special Forces Assessment Selection, is, it's individual land nav is the most basic thing that you do out there with 45 pounds dry through those awesome, majestical pine forests in North Carolina. And it's great. And, I think back now, and those are some of the times when I learned a ton about myself. And in that process, I learned how to ruck really well, as did all the Green Berets that went through that course. And so we became just kind of the mouthpiece for that portion of the Special Forces way of life. And it's like, go be active, man, put some weight on your back and just move. Like you're going to get, it's better for you. You're going to think about your life. You're going to, question some bad decisions. Maybe you'll get smarter too in that process at the same time. And I just think America needs more of this. We need to be more active. We need to get outside more. We need to, do more, like more to get stronger, more to get socially stronger, mentally stronger, physically stronger. And that's kind of the way of life that we champion.
Yeah, I think the message is also like what you were saying earlier, right? No matter what ethnicity, what background, what color you are, like, we can all kind of come together. It's that team, it's that building that team camaraderie, building that unit cohesion, right? Despite whatever differences we all have. It's like we need that nowadays, right? Like we need a common goal, a common mission, that we can kind of come together and do these sort of activities, right?
I mean, look, your phone is the greatest vacuum of nothingness that's ever been created in the history of civilization. Like, stare into it and you will become part of the nothingness.
You can be
You need to break
lost.
out from that. Yeah, I mean, really, like, we're not meant to live like this. And so if we took all those problems, all those anger, hate-filled problems that you find online, and you just ball them up like a crumpled piece of paper, and you just go like this, toss them away, and go outside with a group, with a buddy, with your dog, just focus on the things that are going to be positive forces in your life. And what happens is you start to be positive force for others in your life. And then you find other people that are that are positive forces for theirs. And it's real easy to talk to someone who's right next to you when you both have some weight on your back. It's one of those things where, you know, it's hard to actually have a real conversation online anymore. It's just not a thing. You know, it's just everyone's always right about everything,
Right.
and they've got an agenda, and they're going to tell you how right they are. And it's just not us at our best. And the thing is that it's not just that it's not a vacuum that we get to just stare into this vacuum and then we leave unchanged after we're done, you know, staring at our phone or whatever the case may be. It's like, it actually changes us. If you just live on there and you're just getting angry all the time, like, you take that with you to the rest of your life. If you do other things that are more positive and productive, like get your ass outside with some weight on your back, right? You're going to get physically healthier. You're going to get, you know, mentally healthier. You know, bring some friends, you're going to get socially healthier as well. Like, that's how relationships are formed. That's how they kind of develop and grow. And so that's, you know, that we're looking for some what, like, Washington to come down with some dictate, some mandate, like, hey, now everybody's happy, here you go, like, here's a new law. I mean, come on, it's ridiculous. Like, we're a nation full of people that are carrying the torch around personal responsibility, and we just need to carry it harder.
So Jason, when you first started this company, this GORUCK, what were some of the obstacles initially starting out? You mentioned, like, in the beginning, no one was really buying the products, so you started the GORUCK challenges. Was there anything besides that kind of you know, kind of just were some of the difficulties that you had initially?
I mean, everything was a difficulty. I don't know how to sew. I don't know anybody in manufacturing. I don't know anybody that does product design. I don't know basically anything about starting or running a business. I mean, you know,
You wrote a book too, right? Like, how to not start a, just for our audience,
how not to start a backpack company. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of it's a really kind of like, you want the raw, gritty entrepreneur journey. There you go. It's not a bunch of here's how you do it. It's like, this was just terrible, you know. Like, it's more like an emotional train wreck of a book than it is anything else. But I just wanted to kind of take that memory in time, that feeling, because I had this old journal that I kept, and I just published almost all of it. And I just wanted to kind of leave that, so that in 20 years, you know, God willing, I look back and I don't just glorify how you know, great it was or something. Like, it sucked, man.
Yeah.
You know, and the trick was just to keep going and keep solving the problems one at a time. And you know, you gotta hold the line on the standards too. Like, you just, like, there are literally worse things in life than dying. I know this, you'll get this, the whole Memento Mori thing. I mean, honor and respect and courage and bravery and all of this, like, they come at a cost. The cost is greater risk of death or whatever, right? There are worse things than dying, though. And in terms of the business side, there was a lot of kind of cheap, easy victories that probably could have cashed in on. I could have screamed about special forces, this and that, a lot more. Or, you know, I don't know. I feel dirty even trying to remember some of, like, the stuff that I saw a lot of tricks out there, right? You know, people that weren't in special forces kind of claiming special forces. I saw, you know, it's like anybody that ever served with a SEAL was now a SEAL. I mean, it's not quite stolen valor. It's just kind of, you know, the way that stories are crafted. And I just saw a lot of that. And then, you know, standards are always, you can degrade them anytime you want to. And there were just certain things that I was not willing to do. And ultimately my test, my litmus test is like, I think about the guys on my team. I've got a picture of them in my office at home that I see every day. I'm at home. I'm like, is this going to make those guys proud? Whatever this is. And so where you start to drift a little bit, it's like, nah, not going to do that. Because the avatar kind of situation in my life is life in the team room. And the team room is 12 dudes, right? And it is just a den of wolves. And, you know, iron sharpens iron and all that stuff. And you literally love each other. You'll die for each other. And yet, if you go astray, you know, it's ruthless. It's ruthless. And, you know, there's just a code. And I aim to uphold the code as it was taught to me as I lived through while I was on that team. And as you know, now we've got a lot of special operations guys from all branches who are at the company and who run our events and you know, who are really good friends of mine. And so it's kind of where a CEO or the more whatever you can get kind of more distance from the ground truth. And for me, it's important to have these guys around because, you know, they're used to operating in a team room environment just like I am. So, you know, hey man, that's jacked up. Don't do that. Like, I get that. And that's great. If nobody's willing to put you in check, eventually, you know, you go astray too far. And so it's one of those, yeah, like I'm proud of the journey that we're on and how we're carrying ourselves.
Yeah, you need somebody to, even, you know, as the founder and owner, right? You need somebody to hold you accountable and making sure in whatever you're doing with the company, it aligns with whatever mission you guys set for yourself, right?
Yeah, I mean, or sometimes just to have someone to bounce an idea off of, like, hey, what do you think about this? I'm not sure. And, you know, that's when you get the, oh, that's fucking stupid, man. You know, or you get the whatever, right? It's like, all right, good. I had some
At least
doubts,
that's
but
the
sometimes
truth,
it's like,
right? Like,
yeah,
yeah,
right. I mean, and then other times it's more like, that sucks, but if you did it like this, it would be great. And then you
yeah,
try it a different way. It's like, okay, now it works for everyone. And then you know, two people is just, I mean, in these onesie style missions that do go on, I mean, man, that is like a different. And I never did anything like that, where you send one guy alone and unafraid into wherever to Jason born it up. I mean, that was not, and that was not, I was not trained to that level. And I just found that there was so much more power in SF or now, and just two is so many more than one. So asking someone a question, if you respect their opinion, right, and having a conversation about it, it's just, there's just that constant check that we all need. I don't care who you are. You need to sort of say, hey, is this good? Is this bad? Like, what do you think? And just see what someone else thinks.
yeah. So, Jason, you mentioned earlier, you know, when you first started out, like all these obstacles, right? Like marketing, ads, not even knowing how to sell. So it seems like you kind of focus on your strengths, right? Like in building a team. How were you able to kind of delegate these other things that you had, you know, you didn't really know how to do and did not want to do?
Yeah, I mean, you know, initially hired a few generalists that could just kind of, you know, there's something great, really great about someone that's hungry in their 20s, right? I mean, it's a really kind of hard time in anyone's kind of coming of age story, because there's pressure from the world. You don't have anything figured out. You know, it's not like you're basically worth very little, so you're not paid very much. And you know, like, you got to learn how to hustle your way through the hard way. And those that are forced to do that end up thriving later on, is what I found. And so, you know, the first couple people that I hired were, you know, two girls, and then some other folks started helping out from the business school classes that I was taking. But they were just great. They were adaptive generalists that just kind of, you know, they had good attitudes. Attitude is everything. And
Yeah.
then that allowed me to focus on a lot of the, hey, you know, I did find a product design team and they're the experts in that. And they just need guidance on whatever that is. But that opens up cans of worms on, you know, new problems to solve. And then I take one of the, like, I would take Polly and say, Polly, you got to manage this factory, right? Like, If something doesn't, the fun part is you're in a small space, so everyone hears everything. Everyone knows what's going on. Like when there's 3 or 4 or 5 of you, I mean, all the emails are circling around. There's no Zoom back then. It was not a thing, right? There was like a 400 square foot little room in Washington, DC. And that's where a bunch of us were. And that was a lot of fun. I can see why entrepreneurs want to recreate that, because that is kind of a fun endeavor to go through. But there's no, I don't have a blueprint for you, man. It was like, this is a really important problem. I got to figure out a way to solve it. And then I got to figure out a way to manage the people that can do it. And then I hate finance. So I got, someone from school to help manage the finance stuff. And then, it's just a series of whack-a-moles of sorts, right? Like if all of a sudden I'm having to do all this time on managing our accountants and, doing financial models. I mean, first off, I'm not that good at it. Second off, right, like it's not what our special gift is here.
Right.
And so it's a huge distraction from the stuff that I got to do to get us out there to not die as a business, or to thrive as a business, or whatever the case may be in whatever season we're in, So it's just a series of problem solving, one after the other.
Yeah, I think for many like startups, right, like you're just wearing many different hats in the beginning, and then hopefully try to pass that along to anybody that's willing to help, or if you can find people that are great in that department, like you mentioned, like finance, right? Like obviously myself, I'm not good with money or numbers at all. So if that's something that you're weak on, or you're not comfortable with, trying to find somebody that can take over that for you as well.
Exactly.
Jason, so how long has GORUCK been in existence, and throughout that time, what's kind of like been the most rewarding part so far since you started this?
I mean, officially, filed the papers in 2008. So we've been around since 2008. And, the first event was 2010. That was extremely rewarding. And, I mean, it's the notes that I get from, individual people about how this happened and it changed their life, or this happened and it saved their life, or this was an inspiration to go do this, or I lost, all this weight and I feel more confident about my life, and this is how it's going now. And I get those with some degree of frequency. I mean, we're in a people first business, and that extends to online stuff, anti-social media. And it's like there's no shortage of trolls, and there's no shortage of haters, and there's no shortage of all that. It just comes with the territory.
Right.
And yet it just becomes so fake and artificial at some point. It's actually pretty hard to take seriously, right? Like if someone is so far over to this extreme, or it's like they're just belligerent, like you just kind of tune them out, just move on,
Right.
And so the notes that I get that are just positive feedback about our team and stuff that they did, or stuff that they met this cadre, and this happened and this happened and this happened. And then I just really enjoy seeing our people. I enjoy kind of leading our events and doing our events. And we're putting on a huge fitness festival next year to invite everybody to Jacksonville, Florida, because I mean, I think that a life without experiencing it with other people in the real world is just not the kind of life that I want to lead. So we're able to kind of bring the people together, and that's always the most rewarding.
Yeah. So talk to us a little bit about the event next year, and then kind of just explain to the audience, for those that might not know, how do they go about joining a tribe and finding these GORUCK clubs around the country?
Yeah, I'll take that one first. So, the movement around the events and the fitness around rucking, it kind of spawned these ruck clubs, these community organized groups of people. And so that was not something that we were mandating or dictating. It was just they were doing it.
Right.
So it's, one year when we had a couple hundred of them that were just kind of autonomous, it was like, oh man, bright idea, Good Ideas Club's open for business, right? Like we should organize this a little bit more. So we did that. We just kind of manage, and by manage, I mean we communicate stuff that's going on here and we try to support them even better. So because I mean they're out kind of telling their friends, hey, come meet me in the park at 7 o'clock on Wednesday night. Come, we're doing a group ruck Saturday morning, or we're gonna go grab beers and watch a football game Monday night. I mean, it's not just exclusive to one thing. It's just active people wanting to go do active stuff, and like finds like. And how do people meet people? Well, it's getting harder and harder. And so GORUCK clubs are one way that people meet people. And so, I mean, you can Google GORUCK clubs or something. I mean, but there's basically over 500 of these around the country and around the world. And so, they each have their independent schedules and they have different ways that they sort of organize. And we've kind of started a separate carve-out project called Sandlot Technology. That's a technology backend that will help organize all of these clubs. And it's going to do a lot more on the trainer-led fitness side, but real world community fitness is kind of the foundation of it. Like I'm meeting on my driveway this Saturday at 3:30 p.m. You can find it in this thing, and come work out with us. Now that's a little bit away from now, like next year, but just find the one that's close to you, wherever you are, right? And follow them on social media, or DM them if you want, or whatever, right? I mean, you can get a hold of them and like, when do you guys meet? And then you just can show up. It's just that simple, right? And so all of that, right? Like, this is all a big giant way to stay really connected to our community, because the risk here is that we build good gear and we just keep chasing that, and we run everything else off. And I just think that that's very short-sighted. And so for us to be able to have strong ways of building communities and empowering people to build their own communities and strengthen their communities, I mean, I think that's a public service, and I want to be a part of that mission. So we're putting on a big fitness festival in Jacksonville, Florida next year, from April 22nd to April 24th. It's called Sandlot Jacks. You can find more information at sandlotjacks.com. But it's an interesting event from the standpoint of it hasn't been done like this before. And so we called in a lot of global thought leaders and some of the best trainers on planet Earth to come in and to give talks, like TED Talk style talks, and to be on panels talking about all different facets of health, mental health, physical health, strength, cardio, endurance, mobility, and then you get into social health, right? Community building. And then a lot of those speakers are also great trainers. So they're going to just move right on over to the field, which is literally right next to the kind of speakers venue. And it's all on the river, downtown Jacksonville. Okay. And they're going to lead classes. So if Kelly Starrett, or Miranda from Street Parking, or Ben Bergeron from Comp Train, or these kinds of folks, they're going to speak, and then they're going to come out and they're going to lead a class. And maybe they're going to do some other stuff, whatever they want to do, right? We're also building like 15 to 20 world-class obstacles on that same field. Savage Race is producing those for us. And there's going to be other kind of physical challenges, like stuff that you would see at the state fair, except this is about fitness, like how can you climb the rope? How fast, right? Can you do some pull-ups or do some whatever? Good. How many can you do in this period of time? Like, you can walk around and just do this, right? Like, once you got the ticket, take the ride. And in this case, the ride is, have some fun. And so there, and then there's going to be a series of just other, physical challenges like that. We're working on some stuff behind the scenes, so I can't promise all the fun stuff, but it's cool. We've got long-standing partnerships with places like Rogue Fitness and those folks as well. So you can imagine combining obstacles with some of that type of equipment with some of the simpler stuff that GORUCK builds, like sandbags and rucks and stuff. And let's see what happens. And then, you can do that for a day and then go hit some live music and some rooftop bars that night. Wake up. You want to start your day with sunrise yoga, like great, we'll have that, and then you can do the obstacles some more. You can do whatever, right? Like take your favorite ride and do that a bunch of different times. That's awesome. So that's the goal, is to bring people together and brands and let them activate around the city. So GORUCK is actually putting on like 10 different events at this as well. You get a patch for everything. So if you do, well, everything that we produce, and when you walk in, you get a patch as well. So, there's rucking, kind of, we call them star courses of different distances from 5K to 12 milers, maybe even 15K, maybe even 26 too, right? And then there's just some of the team building events. For one's 3 hours, it's the light; one's 5 hours, it's basic. It's like pick your own adventure, man, and have fun doing it.
So you mentioned it seems like an all around, like just fitness, whatever type, right? You mentioned you guys, along with Rogue Fitness, you mentioned Savage Race as well.
Yep.
Any other brands that we should be looking out for? And then how do we register, or how do we buy a ticket?
Well, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of other, so one of my buddies runs a company called Niantic, and we've had a partnership with them for a while. They're the company that created Pokemon Go and all that. So he's coming to speak about, for instance, he called the metaverse a dystopian nightmare. And it's like, he's got this, the guy that brought you Google Earth, Google Maps with Street View, that was his baby when he was at Google, and then spun out and came to Niantic and created that universe where people got out and were having fun on sidewalks and in parks all over the world, because he had this great imagination for how technology is a tool and how you can use it to get out and have fun and see people and be healthy at the same time. So, talks about stuff like that. And then there's just all different kinds of fitness, other people that are coming. And so there's 3-day passes, there's camping and glamping. If you want to bring an RV or camp out of your Jeep or tent camp, it's perfect weather here this time of year. It's like 75 and sunny and perfect. Right. That's, knock on wood, right? And there's tickets at sandlotjacks.com, and yeah, we're just kind of plowing forward with that. That's going to be a big priority for us. You'll start hearing more and more and more about that from us.
Awesome. And then just for the audience, make sure you're they got the sandlotjacks.com is where you register and get your ticket.
JAX, like JAX, Jacksonville. Yep.
Awesome. So Jason, before we go to the second segment here, one final question is, what's one thing you want our listeners or our viewers to take away from this episode?
Life's a really short place. You need to get out there and get after it, and bring other people along for the ride, and lead from the front.
Awesome. Way to recap. That's couldn't have said it better myself. So Jason, going into our second segment here, this is what I call the Fast Five. These are the same 5 questions I ask all my guests. So first question, what's one hobby other than rucking do you enjoy?
Well, I have my dad's old vinyl collection, right? And I bought a pretty nice record player, nothing crazy, but a pretty nice record player. And I love just going in. I don't do it enough, right? But I go into my little room and I just put a record on. And it's just kind of one of those things. It's just a process where it just kind of is so analog, right? And it just kind of takes all the edges off, right? So I really enjoy that. If I go to a show and I like the band, I always buy the record and take it home, and like it's kind of a memory, and then I end up playing it, and I just really enjoy it.
Is there a specific record that you listen to, or your favorite?
So my dad has a really, really old copy of Dark Side of the Moon that he bought, when it was brand new. and it still has a little sticker up top that says $3, and I just love it, right? He's got Let It Be by the Beatles. And so, I have a couple that I enjoy that are mine that I bought, right? Robert Finley was a concert I went to recently, blues guy, awesome show, bought both his records. They're awesome, right? But the ones that came from my dad are even more kind of sentimental, especially when I happen to really love music too.
All right. So second question, if you had to choose one person, dead or living, to hang out with for one day, who would it be and why?
I mean, I would pick one of my, I'll take another day with one of my family members, like my grandmother or something, it's, my first grandmother that died. It was a long time ago now, she died in 98. So, and the thing is that as much as I would love to hang out with Teddy Roosevelt or Lincoln or whatever, right? It's just, it's one of those things where I have so many more questions now about how they led their lives. And I knew them now, but I only know them in my memory now. So it's kind of like, how do you take that and make sense of it in your own life? And you have to kind of, each of us has to walk that path. And so I think that would be, I would really enjoy that kind of a day.
That's awesome, man. Next question, recommend a book for our audience to read.
So we have this thing at GORUCK Tribe. There's a mandatory book. Well, yeah, there's a highly recommended book every month. This month is one of my all-time favorites, which is Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. And it's just 5 stars. It's one of those books that is absolutely just a must read for everyone on planet Earth, if you ask me.
Yeah, I read that a couple of times. It's a great book. Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. Yep. Next question, Jason. What's your favorite quote and why?
I mean, the first quote that came to mind is "Embrace the suck," but that's not my favorite quote. That's just the one that I have on the back of my Jeep tire, right? That's a good question. I'll have to kind of take a. That's a good question. I don't
get back to us on that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that I have one favorite quote. I mean, I end up, Marcus Aurelius is great, right? Like, spend no more time debating what a good man is, be one. And there's a lot of quotes. I mean, Frankel's, one of his quotes was, when we can no longer change the situation we're in, we're challenged to change ourselves. I mean, and at different times in my life, these meanings, these quotes take on different meanings and different kind of
stages,
relevancies. So yeah.
All right, so Jason,
those are 2 good ones, though.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. Final question here. What do you see yourself in a year, 5 years, or even 10 years from now?
Well, I mean, the great hope is that I'm, fulfilled. And it's one of those things where that's kind of something that is perishable right now. I'm doing really well. I mean, life is a series of challenges, and none of this is easy for anyone. It's just, I have task and mission and purpose, and I believe in what I do, and I look forward to coming to work. And I wish, I love my time with my kids and my family and my wife, and it's, I'm active and I'm healthy. I mean, these are all perishable things. Every single person that and love is going to die. Like, they're all going to leave this earth, including you. And so when you have these kind of periods in your life when things are going well, it doesn't really matter the business outcomes. There's always going to be another challenge. And that's kind of that's the fun part for me. And to kind of have a little bit, not a lot, but a little bit of wisdom and perspective to kind of realize how grateful I am right now for the rest of my life, like not the outcomes of life, not the judgment of the world, but to actually wake up and be, you know, happy, and to make it so where not content, because if you're content, it's like always improve your fighting position, damn it, you know. But it's like you got to keep going forward, because if you just stay in one spot, you just stagnate. And that's no matter what phase you're in life. And so for me, it's just how to stay moving forward along that path. And I'm sure that there will be great trials and tribulations in the future. And, you know, like all I can do is take them on as they come. So 1 year, 5 year, 10 years, I mean, we'll see. I hope that we're able to keep building better Americans and being a voice for good and leading from the front and encouraging people to be a lot more active. And I think that so much of that is that we are just trampling on our social connectivity, and I mean real world social connectivity. And so really championing that and bringing people together and kind of living that life and showing people that this is a really, really important part of a fulfilling life, is to share it with others and to be a part of something bigger than yourself. And so I just want to keep fighting that good fight, man. Take it as it comes.
That's probably like the best answer that we've gotten since I've been doing this, because, you know, a lot of people answer, they talk about their business, right, and talk about like where they want to be and things like that. And then just for the fact that you kind of you mentioned in the beginning, the hope is that you're fulfilled with your life and what you're doing. And it's just it's just good to hear that, you know, you're just wanting to, for you, like where you want to be, you're thinking about like life in general, as far as like being fulfilled and how you're serving others. And salute to you, man. Salute to you and your team and what you guys are doing at GORUCK. Any other final messages that you want to, you know, give our audience? Where can they, or one thing I wanted to ask you was, where can they follow you and where can they support you?
Oh, thanks. Yeah, we're at GORUCK on all the anti-social medias. And you know, it's like, I think the best thing to reiterate that I would love for you to try rucking. And because I'm sure you have a lot of military folks here, like 20, or if you're a female and you don't have experience with this, start with 20 pounds. If you're a guy and you don't already know, like start with 30. You don't have to buy anything. You can put a bag of rice in whatever bag you've got. Like go outside, drag a friend along with you, and just like, I don't know, figure it out from there, right? Like to support us, I mean, just be more active, lead from the front, get more other people to want to follow your lead by just being a better American. And you know, it's something that's, nobody's asking anybody to sacrifice anything. Everybody's asking everyone to buy stuff. And it's gone too far. And so we just need more people to kind of just lead from the front in other ways. And so those are the causes that I'm really passionate about. And I think there's so many people out there that want to do more stuff like that. It's like, we got to just keep reminding ourselves, right? So when I come on, and I'm grateful to you for this opportunity, it's like, you ask these questions, and while I do try to live the life to the best of my abilities, I have to remind myself too. So I come in here and I say these things, and it's like, yeah, I believe them with all my heart. It's just believing and living are they should be married up,
Right.
But they, you know, they drift happens, man. It's okay. You just got to go back to find your true north, and then stay that path. And when you drift, you just drift back. It's okay. Don't beat yourself up. And there's so many people out there. And if all of us, if more of us got on that path of just being active in other ways and leading from the front, I think it would be better for everyone. So let's do that.
Lead from the front. Such is life, man. Every now and then we just gotta realign ourselves with our, find that true north. And again, Jason, appreciate you for sharing your message. Guys and gals, make sure you go support Jason. Go follow GORUCK on all the social media platforms.
It's okay. You can call it anti-social media if you want to.
Anti-social media. But yeah, till then, Jason, hopefully talk to you soon, brother.
Yeah. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
All right. Take care.